Hi friends, this is Chris with Josephine's Designs. I am back. I'm back here for a second part of a video, or kind of a second or third part to a series of videos I've been doing about things we're doing on the property, things we're doing for better health, things I want to focus more and read more. And here I did that video of all this reading I wanted to get done, but it's still in a stack. It's still going to be read. And I was texting a friend today because she had messaged me like a week ago, and I couldn't even read her text. I felt so badly. And, or maybe it was a week and a half ago. Anyways, and when I finally answered her today, I finally just had to say, everything hurt. My eyes, my ears, my jaw, my sinuses, and besides all the coughing and whatnot, because we've been sick, with what my husband has openly declared had to be Omicron. So, we are just, I had the dreaded in the beginning of the summer for 6 weeks, and then we had a stomach bug, and then we had this latter. And in the words of my husband, I relapsed by Tuesday, and it's been a rough week, and sometimes your relapse can be worse than, praise God, this didn't come back with lots of fever. It came back with a little, and lots of coughing and congestion and things like that. But I do have ears that are plugged, but they're not hurting, praise God. I mean, I've had major ear aches and ear infections this summer. And I've also even had dental infection that made everything much worse. So it's been a journey, but I knew that the teeth were in trouble prior to this when I saw my dentist, and they just didn't think it was. So when I reached out to my dentist, I said, look, I hate to do this to you. I hate to bother you at home, but I am really in a lot of pain. And he was just like calling immediately. This is what we're doing, and I hate to take antibiotics, but I took 7 days worth, and it didn't nip the infection in my mouth. But the number one thing that did, and I will start here, one night, I fell asleep early. My husband woke me up. He was on the phone with our son, and I finally just said, that's it, hang it up. And I then couldn't go to sleep till 4 hours later. I was so exhausted, but my body would not let me go to sleep. So whenever I cough a lot, I go in the bathroom, so I wouldn't wake him up. And then I just started cleaning out my bathroom drawer. And I was cleaning things out that I couldn't use or was old, or you know how you do. And I found this tube by Hello, and it is a charcoal toothpaste with coconut oil. Now, I had been using a charcoal toothpaste, but I had gotten it at Walmart. It was a healthy choice. But this other one, I thought, I've been sick. I'm going to dump this other one. I mean, I'm that way. Clean your toothbrushes, do all that stuff. You know how you do. And so I started using this toothpaste. And then I read on there, I thought, oh, coconut oil, because I was having problems with my gums bleeding, my gums swelling, just infection, And and it was moving my teeth. It was affecting my bite. It was just everything. And I have TMJ. I've had TMJ for, almost 40 years. Well, it has been 40 years. Anyways, so they've rebuilt my bite. I've had lots and lots of issues going with my teeth. So I started swooshing. I brushed my teeth and I swooshed for a long time with that coconut oil, because I know that one of the things you do, I think it's called pulling. You swish your mouth with coconut oil, and I just think that sounds wretched. And of course, this toothpaste has a little bit of mint in it. So I started swooshing and using that. And within 2 or 3 days, because I usually also use a tooth powder in between, because then I literally don't have hardly any tartar when I go for my annual cleaning. Or I guess we go 6 months now, but anyways. Interestingly enough, within 3 days, I was like, my gums are back down. My teeth don't hurt. I just kind of forgot. And, because they're okay during the day, but by night, I'm just in so much pain. And they quit hurting, they quit swelling, they quit swelling out to the point where my gums wouldn't meet, because my top teeth would swell down so far. I mean, my teeth wouldn't meet because or they met too early, and so it caused a lot of pain. And one of the main teeth that was the main culprit has had a root canal, and my dentist kept saying, you can't feel that tooth. You've had a root canal. And I'm like, I can feel it. I can feel it, and it was probably the gums. And anyways, so I was talking to my oldest daughter yesterday, and I said, hey, this stuff is fantastic. And she goes, what is it that you're using? And I sent it to her because she said, her husband had some dental struggles. And I said, well, we studied this forever in that nourishing traditions, and I just thought it was bunk. It's not bunk. It works. So, and I was telling my husband, and my husband doesn't like any charcoal toothpaste. And he was like, huh, you weren't doing like the water pick and all. And I said, well, I was doing what I normally do. And even when my teeth got sick. And he said, wow, that is amazing. And I said, I know, it's really amazing. So God was gracious, showed me something. It really worked. I will try to put a link or a picture on my Instagram because I don't have it in here, but I will show you it. Now, the next thing I added in the middle of all this was I'm a big supporter of diffused essential oils. I think they're fantastic. My husband can complain about it. Sometimes, he likes candles, but he doesn't always like this. So, which I'm purposely trying to use up whatever candles we have to bring in only essential oil candles. I won't bring in anything else in that doesn't burn. Wax or candles, they have to all have essential oil because I have so many autoimmune issues. So I ordered off of Amazon a smart aroma diffuser, and we're trying not to use Amazon as much. And I do have a membership to Young Living, but I only wanted one oil. And my daughter-in-law's mom is really big into Young Living, and she was talking about on one of her Instagram stories or something that she was using RC. And I thought, because I had the other one she mentioned, and I've been running like lavender and eucalyptus and rosemary together, and just, it helps you breathe so well, and just thieves and different types of essential oils. And I thought, I'm going to order this one oil off of Amazon. Number one, I can get it in a couple of days at the most. And I ordered this diffuser because it attaches to your phone and you can turn it on remotely. And how many of you set your diffuser, you get busy, you're working, you're whatever you're doing, and then it shuts off, and then you have to get up and go turn it back on, and so you just never turn it back on. And I don't want to sound lazy, but when you're sick, to get up and go turn it back on can be a problem. So I highly recommend. This is a wonderful essential oil, and I'll read to you what is in it, the different oils. Is it on here? Oh no, it doesn't say, doggone it, but it smells divine. I know it has mint. I know it has lemongrass. I know, and my husband doesn't like lemongrass, but he didn't fuss about this. I know it has, I cannot remember all that it has, but it's very aromatic. It's very not overwhelming. Just, a few drops in the essential oil pot is fantastic. So, they sell these. They have them in two different kinds of wood grain. I got the light wood. They have a dark wood. I want these again all over, and I want the ones that go up and not out anymore. I've had the ones that go out that just eat up too much space. And right now mine are literally on top. That one is on top of the magazine rack because my daughter set it up. And that's okay. I mean, beggars can't be choosers when you don't feel well. So I was very thankful. This has been a very, and I'll get the phone app working. I'm just, I feel like had like this sick brain that's not working lately. That's it. Okay. Next, I wanted to share with you, any of you who plant gardens and you think, I'm not going to give any space up for flowers unless it's edible, which has always been my mindset for the last 2 years, except for I'd throw a few zinnias out there or, whatnot. There is a wild seed farm in Fredericksburg, Texas that is gorgeous. We have gone there for years and years and years. We've taken our kids. We love it. So I got my wild seed farm catalog, and I think I got it a couple 3 weeks ago, and I started looking. So there's herbs in here. There's like gold yarrow. There's things that you can use, and then there's things that just bring beauty and joy in your life. Guys, there's nothing that makes me happier. And my husband commented, I planted different zinnias this year. I planted all different colors, and I have the volunteers that come back that are the pinks and the orange and the yellow, and they're gorgeous. But I also planted white. Actually, I didn't have yellow before. White, yellow, and like this burnt red. You know, it was orangey red, burnt red. And my husband was like, I really like those red ones. And I said, that's funny because they're actually kind of more of a burnt orange red. And he said, yeah, I guess that's it. But he's a mum guy. He loves mums. And he was just like, I don't care about any flowers, but I love my mums. And I was like, that's funny because when we moved here, we had hundreds of rose bushes. And there was a point when they started pulling things out, and because they were planted incorrectly and, on and on and on. And they got top heavy and they were just done incorrectly. And so we've had antique roses, yellow roses, white roses, gorgeous red roses, pink roses, every color you can think of, except for I don't think we have any orange roses. And different varieties within those color schemes. And I love flowers. I love the wildflowers. I love to capture them and bring them in. I love my bluebonnets. I love my Indian paintbrushes. I love the chamomile. I love the dandelions. I love it all. And of course, you can use the dandelions. I grow dandelions. I specifically plant dandelions for the greens and whatnot. And so I just think that there's beauty. When you plant an okra, you have a bloom first and then you have a fruit. Same thing goes with tomatoes. Same thing goes with cucumbers. With any of your fruiting plants, it is amazing. Your squash, the squash blossom is fantastic. They literally harvest the squash blossom and they cook it and they fry it. I don't do that. But I am just saying there is beauty in your garden. And I've decided the more I can plant, the more flowers I can plant, the more I literally was asking my husband, I said, we have a solid black bumblebee. Have you ever heard of that? I mean, he has bees. And he was like, no, I've never heard of a black bumblebee. And it showed up. I showed my daughter and she goes, it does look like a black bumblebee. And they're just the pollinators. They're going in my garden. They're getting all the things. And I'm highly allergic to bees. So so I always pay attention. But when they're pollinating and they're going from flower to flower to flower, they don't bug me. They don't want me. They don't want me to take what they're doing. But, there's times to pick and times not to. And so, or harvest, whatever you want to call it. But flowers are important. They're important. Number one, I can see God's beauty in his creation. Number two, it's the peace and the joy that it brings me. Number three, it's the blessings that it offers my family when I bring them in and I put them in my home. Number four, there are some that are beneficial. You can eat them. They bring great nutrients into your diet. Nasturtiums, the leaves and the flowers are fantastic for you. Purslane, which is a weed to most people. You can literally just break off the pieces of the leaves and it is fantastic for you. It's full of omegas. There are just so many things you can do with flowers. So don't discount in your vegetable gardens these beautiful things that God gives us. Okay. And I'm looking at all the seeds because we're talking about, fall gardens. I also wanted to share with you, this is from the Purposeful Pantry. She has a YouTube channel here. I love her. She does a lot of dehydrating. I was about to chunk my dehydrator and just save my pennies, nickels, and dimes and go get a freeze dryer. They're very expensive. And I would prefer to freeze dry because you just save so much more nutrients and it's forever shelf stable. I have all the tools to can, to vacuum seal everything, but I found that there were things that I need to go back through that I dehydrated a year ago that I'm going to blend up and just put in soups and whatnot. She has taught me so much. So I also, pardon me, excuse me, I don't mean to clear my throat. These are just some goodies off of her. I ordered some of the books. I've downloaded them. I've done my whole thing. I guess this is a sticker. I'm not sure. I'll have to see. But this is a magnet that will go on I have a commercial size dehydrator. I have a one that you hang. I have, like the little wire hangers with all the clips. I don't like that as much. It's very messy. Our house is too busy for that. Somebody always invariably bumps them and they fall, or they just fall because I tied up too many. It's just such a pain. But even while my dehydrator has had a fuse blown, we were waiting for the stuff to come in. It came in, praise God, but nobody's felt good enough to put it in. I literally laid things on paper towels in the dehydrator, and I was looking today, and they're all dehydrated on their own. So there's ways to dehydrate, but what I love here is she gives you a checklist. She gives you dehydrating temperatures, which mine has lots of adjustment, temperatures. I have like, I think it's a 10 or 12 rack. I was looking at an even larger one, but I think instead of spending any more money on dehydrators, I really, really, really think I'm going to look at a freeze dryer first. I talked to my daughter and son-in-law and said, hey, do y'all want to go in halves? But they just live too far away. There are things like that that I really want to do. I think it is a much better use. I will still can some things, but I won't can everything because you lose too many of the nutrients in that process. When you freeze dry, you're home free, but this gal, the Purposeful Pantry, she is excellent at showing you how to dehydrate your fruits and vegetables, how to store it, how to flavor things and make other recipes out of them through dehydration. So she's really, really talented. She's very, very, if you ever met that person that they just have all their ducks in a row, this is her thing. This is her thing. She knows what she's doing. So, I definitely have dehydrated for probably 40 plus years, but I'm still learning from her, and I love that. I love that I just don't know everything. I love that I can go and learn from somebody else. And I think, and sometimes we learn things and we forget it, and it's so great to have somebody refresh our memory. So I just wanted to let you guys know, and I think this is just one of her stickers. It says, nevertheless, she preserved, and I love that. She's just a really spot on gal. I also picked up some of her ebooks, and I'm waiting for my printer. I ordered a printer 2 months ago, and I've not received it. I think I got had. So I'm going to get my daughter this weekend to figure out how to get my eco tank working. And I pray to God that I have it. I've definitely got every penny out of it if it's not going to work. But, this is another little jewel I found, Freeze Fresh. And I can't remember. I don't think it was the gal with the Purposeful Pantry, but it could have been. And it talks about how to better freeze your fruits and vegetables. I literally have a bag of blueberries that kind of has some ice on it in the freezer right now, and I've been thinking I'm going to pull that. I'm going to make a cobbler this weekend with my sourdough and all that kind of stuff. So I think that there is a lot to be learned for me, especially. I haven't always, and there's great recipes, apple cider donut cookies, things like that. I haven't always done the best at my freezing journey, and I have a freezer full of tomatoes from the garden this year. And all we do is cut the top of the core off in any bad spots. We throw it in a Ziploc bag and we freeze it. I should remove, and I may this year remove the skins of the tomatoes, or I may just throw them in a pot, cook them down, lift the skins, skim the skins out, and then puree and process as I need to, and then I may can, or I may just put back in the freezer. So there are great options out there, great solutions, great tools. I thought this was a really good book. It was just something that I thought, there's still more I can learn. So, okay, and I grew up in South Texas where hurricanes hit, and my mother's answer and everything was keep your freezer frozen because if a hurricane hits, you want it to be solid so you don't open. If you lose electricity, it'll last longer. And it was like, okay, but then you have more to process. It was just her way of thinking that she always had a prepped pantry in case of storms. Okay, so Prepper's Pantry, build a nutritious stockpile to survive blizzards, blackouts, hurricanes, pandemics, economic collapse, and other disasters. So this was recommended, and I can't remember which channel recommended it. I'm terrible about that. I'm so sorry. And part of that is my brain from being sick. So I just thought this is a good book. I'm going to read this. I may have it. And that was one of the funny things when I got it. I thought, that looks very familiar. So if I have this, I will pass this on to one of my children, especially one who's really into this. Now, I also picked up a Pantry Inventory. I have things like this. So whoever I give this to, I may give this to them. I don't think that actually they would do it, but I think my son would do it. So maybe I'll give this to him. We'll see. And he and his wife. I just wanted like a better look at. I buy things like this in digital form. I just think that digital is forever, and you can just keep printing it out and using it. So I also picked up the Prepper Survival Stockpile. Build a nutritious emergency pantry with shelf-stable survival foods and be self-sufficient when push comes to shove. And this is by Kenneth Olson. This was by Daisy Luther. And I just think this is a great starter book. When I went through this, I thought, that is really a good book to start with. It wasn't one recommended. It was one that I saw. You're going to find in any of these books, you're going to go, I would never do it that way. Or, no, I think they're wrong. Or, I'm going to do it this way instead. And that's totally fine. These are just ideas they give you. They just give you ideas. Like, I've made pasta, but I've never dried it and kept it and, sealed it. Why haven't I done that? Why haven't I done that? How silly am I? And I don't have all the fancy machines. I did it. I rolled it by hand. I cut it. I did all that. I literally don't have a KitchenAid. Like people have those big mixers with all the attachments. My oldest daughter does. I don't. We had an Oster, and then I went the route of like the Bosch mixer and stuff like that. But I don't have a machine that is electric that does pasta, so it is all very by hand. And why in the world did I not make a year's worth of pasta? It's so cheap to make and so easy. It's a no-brainer. Okay, the USDA Complete Guide to Home Canning. There is a gal, and she's here on YouTube. Rosebud Homestead? They're out of Colorado, and she and her husband, they have their PhDs. They're brilliant people. She's a science gal. I'm not sure what his is in. They live in Colorado, and they have gotten really good at explaining canning, explaining the science, explaining why you do this, why you don't do that, and I, for some reason, and I have a daughter who's, a chemist, and a son-in-law who's a chemist, so that I better have my facts in a row. It can't be just, well, that's how it works, so excuse me, guys. So she had recommended this book because I've always used the Bell. Is it Blue Ball canning. Sorry, Texas Bluebell. Bluebell ice cream is a big deal here. The Blue Ball canning books. I think they're fantastic. There's one like mega one that I don't have that I'm going to ask for Christmas this year for my husband. But I just felt like there was more recipes in here. There was just more science, and I wanted to read it. And if it looks really, really good, I'm going to get this for my daughter and son-in-law for Christmas this year. Now, a lot of you have asked, what have you guys done that was off the beaten path, not the norm, for what we've been sick with? Charcoal tablets. Hold on, I think I may even still have some here. Are what I used, activated charcoal. They have more like organic ones. This is just what I had in my stash. This is the end of my stash, so I'm using it up. And that is great if you have a stomach bug, if you have food poisoning, if you have any of that. These are fantastic. They help draw the toxins out. Now, if you're on any kind of medication, prescription, whatnot, you'll have to time it correctly because it will draw that out too. So that has been fantastic. I also found clear sinus and ears. Also, they have a nose spray. Highly recommend, but you can only use it for 3 days. I think it's 3 days. And then mullein leaf is fantastic. So this I was taking when I was so congested, when I was in so much pain. And my son and daughter-in-law, when they got to that point, because they went to Puerto Rico here recently, and for their annual big trek, and they were really sick with respiratory. And they did the over-the-counters. I did exactly what we did. And then they finally just said, I cannot take an over-the-counter decongestant again. And I'm like, I totally get it. I mean, my skin has been affected, my hair, this has been a whole summer of this junk. So when we get to the end, this is what I switched to. Now, I have not done this from the beginning, the onset. I had used everything up with the first round of illness. And then when I got sick here at the end of the summer. I didn't have any. We weren't using Amazon, and I just said, forget about it. I'm ordering it. And so my husband even said, when I started giving him this, he was just like, oh my gosh, that stuff is fantastic. And I said, I know. So, and then I also would add in over here, the third component would be garlic. And they were just in little capsule form and like gel caps. And garlic is a natural antibiotic, antiviral, the whole thing. And I don't know if it's antifungal, but I do know it's antiviral, antibiotic properties it has. And so those three together were phenomenal. And I just pulled these back out to take again. I had gotten better. I was doing okay. And then I relapsed this week. So this is my focus. I went back on the over-the-counter decongestants because of the fever, because it has like acetaminophen and whatnot in it. But this is what I will finish this off with, and have been finishing it off with. So these are excellent. Now, you talk to your doctor. You do not go and get this stuff based on me. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical person. I'm just telling you what worked. The other thing, oh no, whoopsie. I opened that upside down, silly me. Okay, and then my husband has one that I can't get to. So I ordered us the elderberry and I'm trying to think zinc cough drops. They worked great, but they don't have like that honey center. And this just has more of a like menthol thing. So my husband, I don't know if they're good or bad, that just helped. My husband had gone back in taking the elderberry and he's like, those aren't anywhere near as good as these. And I said, I know, but they are better for you in the long run. It has that extra zinc. It has that elderberry, all those good properties. But if you just need some relief from coughing in the middle of the night, and it always comes in the middle of the night, you know what I mean? Sorry. These are great. These were great. But I highly recommend the elderberry and zinc. And you can just look it up on Amazon or wherever it is that you shop at the health food store. Those are really good solutions. So I was trying to think if there was anything else. When the throat pain was so severe at the beginning of each illness, we did use this. I don't know that I would say that this is a good, healthy thing, but when you are in so much pain that you wake up because you're swallowing in the middle of the night, you're dying. And it was so funny. I would spray my mouth and then my husband would open his mouth and he goes, why don't you just give it me to spray? And I go, because you'll put this whole thing in your mouth and then it'll just be yours. And he was like, oh, okay. And it was kind of like, it was this big, I guess she's right, kind of moment. And it was just so funny. But, I said, I don't want to pay for two of these because we didn't use that much of it. We just used like maybe that much of it at the most, which is a lot. But that was another thing. If you guys know of any healthier option on any of those things, please share with me. We are very open to being taught. I also have elderberry juice, elderberry cordial, elderberry, everything elderberry you can think of, from, I think it's River Harvest. Anyways, they're out of Missouri. Highly recommend them. My elderberries are growing beautifully here on the property, and but we're not getting berries yet. So I also have dehydrated elderberries. I have elderberry powder. I have everything because elderberry is so good. And as I come out of this, I will go back into a daily elderberry tea, but in the middle of this, I had to do things like peppermint tea, organic peppermint tea, because because of my GI tract, I was also having problems with anything I took would upset my tummy. So, I know. And I wasn't eating enough to coat my stomach to take those things, and so there were a lot of vicious cycles in there. And then the dental antibiotics, we are heavily eating fermented food because the probiotics that are needed to offset, to get the good biome going again in our bodies, in my body especially. I hate taking antibiotics, but I was one sick pup. So, so that is what we did. And I think I'm not a big antibiotic user at all, but when you need it, you need it. And interestingly enough, that's why we know this was a virus. It didn't change any of the illness, the congestion, the fever, it didn't adjust anything except for it addressed the tooth issue. So when they say, Omicron is a virus, or, the pandemic, big C is a virus, it is. Antibiotics don't work. So when you're thinking, they just need to give me an antibiotic, they just need to give me an antibiotic, I'm going to end up with pneumonia, they need to give me an antibiotic, it doesn't work. It didn't work at all. And my daughter was so funny when I was telling her this. She goes, I wondered, that is such good information. I said, yeah. I will have a wheeze for a while, and I probably will have a cough for a while. I will probably go I've thought about a huffer. I'd like to find, that's why I started on this RC, was seeing if that would help, get it up and out. The mullein will help with that as well. Mullein is just an herb or a plant, and then it helps. It's like an expectorant. It's really good at helping getting things up out of your chest. But I am wheezing. I still have diminished breathing ability, and then of course that cough can just drop down in my chest. And like this week, it just dropped immediately back down in my chest again, and it just sounds horrible. It's just a wet cough. You just sound terrible. And, I'd be the person nobody would want to sit by in church. You know what I mean? So I think that there are tools that we can use that are more natural. If you guys have any suggestions, any tips, please list them below. We have got a couple of people that are spamming this channel's comments. It's been going on. It's like they trade off every now and then. But so I read the comments before I publish them. And now I'm able to do that very quickly. So just, if you have any suggestions, please share. I did make, the old-fashioned chicken soup. I did with a very small amount of chicken bone broth, and vegetable out the wazoo soup. And I added things like edamame. I added, which, I was vegetarian forever and vegan for a season. So I added some edamame, which we don't eat very often, but it is a soy product. But I added organic edamame. I added, cut corn, carrots, onions, garlic. Onions and garlic are fantastic when you're sick. They're just so good for your body, especially the garlic. The more, the better. And I put shredded carrots and greens and just everything I could get into it to make it the most. I did mushrooms. Mushrooms are so good for you. I did mushroom powder. I did mushrooms. I did it because my husband hates mushrooms, but he didn't complain, and he ate every bite. Those things are so good for you when you're sick. And I made a huge Dutch oven of it, and then we just ate on it. We heated it every 3 days. You need to completely heat it through every 3 days, and then you can just keep it in your fridge and just kind of rotate it. And so we'd have it like every 3 days so we wouldn't get sick of it. And we finished it up, I think, night before last, and it was fantastic. So, and I just made the sourdough. I've gotten really into sourdough this summer, and I'm getting ready to start an Amish friendship bread, which is also a fermented bread, but it has a little bit more sweet to it. It's not as soury because my sourdough is sour. But every time I do the cast off to make it, to feed it, I would make, in my big cast iron pot, I would put some ghee down, grease it with some ghee, and then pour it in there, about 2 or 3 cups. It would get like that thick when it cooked. And it would be this cross between crackers and cornbread kind of texture. And that ghee would crisp it up. And my family has gotten to where they just want to eat it all the time. Which is so much better because my husband's been a saltine cracker guy, so we're off of that, hopefully, God willing. And anyways, they're just things that you can do that are good for you. Anything fermented is fantastic. Fermented vegetables. I've got fermented Swiss chard and Swiss chard stalks, and carrots, and ginger, and everything you can think of, onions, garlics, cucumbers, tomatoes. I ferment everything, and it is so good for you. And each one offers you a little bit of different nutrition, a little bit different type of ferment, probiotics, etc. It's just so good for you. So I believe I've had this like 20-point drop in my cholesterol, which I've never ever had in my whole life. I'm not on any medication for it. I have to think that the only thing I've changed is the amount of ferments and the sourdough and things like that we're eating. We're not eating the other breads. We're eating the fermented bread, so maybe that has something to do with it. That's the only thing I can think that we've changed. I mean, there have been seasons where we ate nothing but fruits and vegetables and a little bit of dairy and eggs, and I still had that same cholesterol. And my doctor, my cardiologist would say, hey, we know it's in your family history. We know, we know. I'm not going to put you on anything. With the diet you're eating, we're just going to, I don't want you going on anything yet because it's a real adjustment. And so, he was so good about that. And I don't know why God allowed somehow all of a sudden out of the blue, I went and got my cholesterol checked, and I didn't believe the nurse. So I dug back in on the patient portal, and sure enough, it was what it was. So maybe it was a boo-boo, maybe it wasn't, but I've lost weight, not a lot, but I've definitely lost weight. And yeah, I mean, it's just a healthier way of eating. And I'm not 100% into the nourishing traditions yet, but I can see me going more and more that way. Pardon me, just with less meat. So anyways, I hope that helps you guys. There's so many of you that are getting ready to go into this season with fall and all the kids going back to school and all the fun things that are going to be shared. But for us, these are the things that I'm focusing on. These are the things that we use. These are the tools that we used. Was it perfect? No. But with somebody with as much autoimmune disease that I have, this is so much better than going in to get a shot, going in to take some, brand new drug that's just hit. I mean, all those things. And we had the luxury of being able to work from home and be home. And that was a blessing. So, okay, friends, I pray that you're not getting sick. I pray that you never have to use this. I pray that if there's any of these things that will help you just, process the food that you have, even if you get it from the farmer's market or the grocery store, look for things on sale. You don't have to grow gardens to dehydrate, ferment, to can. You can do it all via, when I first started canning, I did everything from the grocery store. I mean, I didn't have anything, I always had herbs, but I've always grown herbs. But I will tell you that my first bread and butter pickles were from the grocery store, from the market, from like a farmer's market kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, it was great. It was great. So, all right, friends, I pray your day is blessed, creative, and lovely. I love spending time with you. Thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Tell me anything else that you have found in this journey as we get ready to go into fall and the weather changing that might help somebody else. Leave a comment below and share what you have found. I'm not a huge proponent for the things like you get at the grocery store, but sometimes you go there, or the drugstore. I am a proponent for anything that is more natural. I think those are invaluable tools. So if you have even more of that to share, that would be wonderful. And yeah, you guys take care, be safe, love you guys, and take good care of yourself, okay? So that you can serve God, serve your family, serve your community so much better, okay? All right, guys, I love y'all. Talk to you soon. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.